Indians in any political constituency do not make up a majority. And that seems to be a reality for politics in Malaysia. But there are constituencies that are identified perhaps because they have a large Indian minority. Now, when a political party has a platform that's exclusively, so in your case, one that champions the rights and the interests of the Indian community, how can it make a breakthrough when there are no constituencies where Indians form the majority?
See, in our our research and in our analysis, out of the 222 parliamentary constituencies and 576 state constituencies, there's not a single constituency which is Indian majority. To us, it is by design by the UMNO regime immediately after independence, so as to politically weaken the Indians and to deny and deprive them of a voice at the highest political level, that is at parliament. So basically the Indians end up being at the mercy of either Barisan Nasional or Pakatan, in order for seats, to get seats, to get political representation. They are at the mercy of the Chinese and Malay political leaders in either UMNO Barisan or in Pakatan.
But let's say, with the Malay community that is over 50% of the national population, and with the Chinese also a substantial, maybe 35%, Indians make up less than 10% of the national population. Are there areas in which Indians could have, a constituency could have been carved out that would have been majority Indian? Is it actually demographically even possible?
It is possible. Let's say we go to Klang, this whole area, Klang, Port Klang, Pandamaran, Sri Andala, Sri Muda, Shah Alam, the whole lot, wherever you go, you see Indians. But they are not a majority. As I said earlier, a short while ago, it is designed that way. They are being broken up so as to decimate their population, and they will to deprive them and deny them of political representation at the highest political level. It is by design.
So
it's possible. Yes, it's possible.
Okay. So given this situation, before you can even institute reform or have a delimitation or redelineation exercises that maybe might give a chance to that kind of ethnic representation, what do you do? How do you begin to, in fact, even step foot into the state assembly or parliament as Indian representatives?
You see, I was looking in Kelantan during my 1.5 years detention in Kelantan. I was looking at a solution for the Indian poor. And I came up with this proposal of the creation of Indian majority seats. From the workout I got, today there are about almost 1 million Indian voters in Malaysia, but not in a single constituency are they a majority. So bearing that in mind, so we did a campaign to create Indian majority seats. So now, last count we did like one state, one Indian majority seat. For example, all the Indians in Selangor registered as a voter in Putrajaya. Frankly, we concede that our campaign was not successful. As per these elections, it's not successful. So to me, as I tell our supporters, that for us it's a lost opportunity, because Anwar Ibrahim says that he will win, Pakatan will win by 10 seats. And if the 7 major states which has got substantial Indian voters, Kedah, Penang, Perak, Negeri Sembilan, Selangor, Johor and also Pahang, we would have had a chance to create 7 Indian majority seats. And then 7 out of 10 would make that difference. We would be the tipping point. We would be the tipping factor.
What's interesting is, of course, we've had this long history of the Malaysian Indian Congress, of Indian-based parties that have, in fact, got representation at state assemblies and in parliament, but they do that within a broader coalition, a multi-ethnic coalition. Your party, does it seek to go at it alone? Is it possible within the constraints that you have now to go at it alone as an Indian party?
You see, the MIC, they seem to have representatives, even the MIC and even the Indian MPs. They are about, I think, 15 Indian state assemblymen and 13 Indian MPs within the opposition. And in MIC, they have 9 parliamentary seats and 19 state assembly seats. there is a distinct difference between representatives and representation. We have Indian representatives, but we do not have Indian representation at the highest political level. It's two different things. So now we are left with no choice now. So we have selected the constituency with the highest Indian voters, that is 29% in Putrajaya, and we have asked PAS to make way for us. We have asked PAS to make way for us for a one-to-one fight for a one-to-one contest with Barisan Nasional, UMNO. At our meeting with the PAS President Hadi Awang and 6 other MPs, including the Putrajaya MP Siti Maria, Dr. Hatta Ramli, Khalid Samad, Nizar Jamaluddin, the PAS Secretary General, the Rantau Panjang MP, and the 6 of them. The PAS President very proudly said, and we have monitored him in the last couple of elections. He says, PAS will allow non-Muslim to contest under the PAS banner, giving the impression that they are inclusive, they are multiracial, they are multi-religious. Even at the last count in 2008 general elections, this lady called Kumuda, she was flaunted as the PAS candidate for Tiram, state seat for Tiram. They flaunted, they got all the maximum publicity, they got the political mileage they wanted, but at the end of the day, Kumuda contested under PKR ticket. So we are left with no choice but to contest in Putrajaya. You could ask us, how are you going to win with only 29% Indian voters?
And assuming that all Indians vote the same way.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So our point is this, a very rough calculation. You see, Putrajaya is quite a unique constituency because no single community is the majority there. Plus, the additional factors are there's no army camps, there's no Orang Asli voters, which is supposed to favor Barisan. So that's another 2 plus points. And there are 44% Malays, 29% Indians, and 24% Chinese. So on the assumption that a very rough calculation, of course you could argue otherwise, the Malay vote split into 2. See, during our campaign last week, we bumped into Izzah Muhammad Noor. He was having a meeting with the MCA, local MCA representatives. So we bumped into him. I asked him whether he's the candidate. He says he's not sure, But from my reading, my political reading is he will be the candidate.
But isn't Putrajaya formally held by MIC?
Yes.
Wouldn't they likely put somebody like Muradisu there?
I don't know. I would think that because the margin is a huge margin, just over 20,000 majority. So they would rather put maybe as a matter of strategy they may put a Malay candidate. I do not know. But for me, my calculation is the Malay was assuming it splits into 2. So 22% for Barisan, 22% for Pakatan, and Indians at 29%. And assuming, so 22 and Indians 29, assuming even 30% of the Chinese voters vote for me. See, we have got a Chinese leaflet here published in Chinese. We have got one campaign leaflet also in Tamil. Okay. So assuming even 30% of the Indians vote for me, I could win, vote for me, and 70% vote for the opposition candidate. In the case of a 3-cornered fight, I could win by a small, slim majority. That's my confidence.
Okay. So that's very interesting that you made that calculation. Now, do you think at this point in time, one, that Indians vote as a bloc, that they see themselves as a voting bloc that needs to advance their interests in terms of representation at Parliament through this kind of strategy? And two, is it possible that at this point in time, a lot of Malaysians think it's BN or Pakatan Rakyat, that within the Pakatan Rakyat you have people who are formerly with Hindraf, right, and so that would be sufficient in order to advance the interests of the Indian community.
See, as I said, there's nobody really from Hindraf. Nobody has taken positions with PKR, DAP or PAS, Senator's post, Dato's post. Nobody has taken. As I said, there are Indian representatives in Pakatan who basically won on Malay and Chinese votes. So their bosses are basically the Malay and political Chinese leaders. Like it or not, that's reality. Racism in Malaysia, victimizing in particular the Indian poor. This 13 Indian MPs and 15 Indian state assemblymen are powerless to address these issues. For example, I just give you one example, which is the tip of the iceberg example. For example, in Selangor, there are only 97 Tamil schools. As a permanent and wholesome solution, just by one stroke of the Menteri Besar's pen, all 97 Tamil schools could be made fully aided. But it is 5 years now. It only takes 5 seconds to sign. But it's already 5 years now. The Indian representatives, the Malay, the pseudo multiracial Pakatan MPs and state assemblymen, they are unable to, they refuse to deliver because there's no political mileage to be made. So that problem remains, but whereas to the contrary, they do advertisements, they do advertisements saying that they're giving handouts here, handouts there, and they have managed to convince the Indian masses to a certain extent, because they said, oh, Pakatan is giving us more. I say, yes, if Barisan gives 5,000 ringgit to a Tamil school, Pakatan gives 10,000. But there's no permanent solution because they did not give a permanent land title to Tamil schools. And if Barisan gives you one hamper, Pakatan gives you 2 hampers. Yes, they're doing better. Barisan gives you 1 rice packet, Pakatan gives you 2 rice packets to the Indian poor. Yes, they are doing better than Barisan.
Now, at the end of the day, you are in the business of persuading people, right? Persuading the Indian community to think of itself as a political community. But there's perhaps several major challenges. One is that the Indian community itself is quite divided, or it is marked by lots of differences. There are different ethno-linguistic communities, though the Tamil community is the majority. There are also class differences, and you mentioned several times the question of the Indian poor. Now, how do you bring all those different elements in the Indian community together to think of themselves as a single entity? And if that's not possible, how can you make the working class Indian think of itself as a political bloc?
See, the issue of the Indians being divided, to me, is a political strategy by the political masters, because you tell me one community in the world that is not divided. Everybody, even in a family, we have divisions, so that's not a problem. What is important is we keep moving, we keep moving. So you see, in 2007, the Indians got together as a bloc, because the very serious issues of death in police custody, death by police shooting, 5 major issues were very emotive. 5 emotive issues were there at that time. Death in police custody at the rate of every 2 weeks, 1 Indian youth dying in police custody. Every week, 1 Indian is being shot dead by the police. Every 10 days, 1 Hindu temple is being demolished. And then we had in 2001 the issue of Kampung Medan, racial attacks targeting Indians. Of course, the government says it's racial clashes, but to me, it's racial attacks. 5 Indians were killed and 100 over were caused grievous bodily injuries. And the last point was there is a reduction of 50% of general police of abuse. So that issues now, after the Hindraf rally in 2007, that seem to have, at least for the moment, temporary. I'm not sure if it's going to be permanent. Tomorrow they can start demolishing Hindu temples again. There's like Hindu temple demolition, there's a 99% drop. There's a huge jump. Okay.
So you've been successful in terms of bringing these issues to the national platform, to mainstream them, to get everybody answering them in some sense, right? I mean,
I think the government had been very clever. The most emotive, these 5 emotive issues has been addressed for the moment. I'm not sure if it's going to continue tomorrow. At the moment, it's being addressed. See, there's no permanent solution unless the Hindu temples, you give them land, So that seemed to have brought down the emotive, if no more an emotive factor. The rest, we are left with equal education opportunities, equal license opportunities, equal business opportunities, equal skills training opportunities, equal FELDA opportunities. For example, there are 1 million over Malays who have been given a 10-acre FELDA land scheme. Okay, whereas the Indians are almost excluded, segregated. This level of segregation and racism, to me, does not happen in any other part of the world, especially at an era where even the president, a black carrying a Muslim name, Barack Hussein Obama, can become the president of the United States of America. In Malaysia, they would not even, the government department, both Barisan and Pakatan, would not even take an Indian as an office boy.
Now, lastly, I just want to ask, what is your message to the people, to the voters of Putrajaya, faced with potentially a three-cornered fight in an era where people are thinking it's all or nothing, it's either BN or it's Pakatan Rakyat? How do you make a case for a third party, for an independent coming from a fairly small community?
You see, in particular, the Indians we met, they said previously we did not have a choice. Now we have a choice. And to pull the Indian voters, and amongst the Chinese voters, we are saying a vote for Uthayakumar is a vote for the opposition. A vote for Uthayakumar is a vote for change. A vote for Uthayakumar is a vote against hudud laws. Okay, a vote for Uthayakumar is a vote against Barisan. So we feel that we can make some inroads into the Chinese community. See, previously they did not have a choice. In a scenario where, let's say, we did not have a Pakatan candidate, it was just me, an independent, versus Barisan National. Will I not stand a good chance of winning? The answer is yes. So in that case, we have to go on irrespective, because if Pakatan Rakyat had solved the Indian issues in these 5 years in the Pakatan states, or in their Buku Jingga has got almost zero about the serious critical Indian issues, looks like they have got no interest in solving the Indian poor problem. So we are forced to contest to make that break, Even Pakatan in 2004, they had only one seat in Parliament, Permatang Pau. In 2008, they came up, they rose to 31. So we have to, as Confucius says, 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. So we have to take this first step.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.